Brothers Asbel and Hubert venture to the forbidden Lawn Hill, drawn by the promise of year-round flowers. Asbel, the rebellious older brother, dismisses his father's warnings of danger, eager for an adventure and asserting his newfound independence at 11 years old, dragging a reluctant Hubert along with him. On the hill, the brothers discover a mysterious girl sleeping among the flowers. When awakened, she seems disoriented and confused. Unable to answer their questions, she claims she was awakened by Asbel's voice, but has no memory of who she is or where she came from. Hubert suggests the girl might have amnesia, a theory Asbel considers. Unable to leave her alone and helpless, they decide to bring her back to their town, Lhant. They hope that the familiar sights of the village might jog her memory and help her recall her past. On their way back, they are confronted by their childhood friend, Cheria. She is upset about being left behind, especially since Asbel had promised to take her to Lawn Hill. Hubert explains they left her because of her delicate health, but Cheria remains frustrated with them. To appease Cheria, Asbel gives her a beautiful Sopharia flower he picked from the hill. The mysterious girl then gives Cheria a flower of her own, a simple act of kindness that begins to bridge the gap between them. Cheria learns the new girl has amnesia, and her anger turns to sympathy. The group seeks help from Cheria's grandfather, Frederick, the Lhant family's butler. However, he does not recognize the girl either. The children then decide to take matters into their own hands and canvass the town themselves, hoping to find someone who knows her or can help. While asking around town, they encounter a traveling beastmaster. In a surprising turn of events, the amnesiac girl demonstrates incredible acrobatic skills, making the beastmaster's animal perform complex tricks. This new clue suggests she might be a circus performer or even something more mysterious, like an assassin. Asbel's mother, Carrie, finds the children and informs them that their father, Lord Astin, wants to speak with them. She forbids Asbel from playing with the frail Cheria, which angers him. The tension between Asbel and his parents becomes clear as he feels constantly controlled and misunderstood. Lord Astin is stern and dismissive of the children's adventure. He informs them that an important guest, the son of a powerful man from the capital, is arriving. He strictly forbids Asbel from interacting with the visitor, fearing any incident could tarnish the Lhant family name. When Lord Astin plans to hand the amnesiac girl over to the authorities, Asbel vehemently objects. He declares that he will take responsibility for her, seeing it as a chance to prove to his father that he is not just a powerless child. This marks a turning point in his resolve. Asbel confides in Hubert his dream of becoming a knight in the capital, a path far different from inheriting the lordship of Lhant. He reaffirms his commitment to taking care of the mysterious girl, not just to defy his father, but as a genuine promise to protect her. The friends decide the girl needs a name. Inspired by the Sopharia flower Asbel gave Cheria, they decide to call her Sophie. The name is immediately accepted, and Sophie speaks it aloud, creating her first real connection to the group and establishing her new identity among them. The transport carrying the visitor from the capital is attacked by monsters. Asbel and his friends rush to help, showcasing their bravery. They successfully fend off the monsters, protecting the transport and its important passenger before Lord Astin and his men can even arrive on the scene. The visitor is introduced as Richard. Lord Astin once again warns Asbel to stay away from him. Undeterred, Asbel decides to meet Richard for himself, seeing it as another opportunity to defy his father's strict rules and make a new friend on his own terms. Asbel and his friends sneak into the guest chambers to meet Richard. Richard is initially cold and distrustful, believing they only want to befriend him for his status. He reveals his cynicism, explaining that people are only nice to him when they want something from him. Richard's tutor, Bryce, tries to force him into sword practice, despite him feeling unwell. Asbel, standing up for his new acquaintance, offers to take Richard's place. He bravely spars with the much stronger Bryce, earning the man's respect and impressing Richard with his honor and courage. Impressed by Asbel's kindness, Richard agrees to let him show him something cool. Asbel takes him to the flower meadow on Lawn Hill, the same place where he and Hubert found Sophie. He wants to share the beautiful secret spot with his new friend from the capital. At the meadow, a shocking truth is revealed when Bryce arrives. He addresses Richard as Your Highness, exposing him as the Prince of the Windor Kingdom. Bryce then betrays him, revealing his intent to assassinate the prince, leaving the children to face a duel to the death. During the fight against Bryce, Asbel, Sophie, and Richard are knocked off a cliff. They are saved by a mysterious warm light emanating from Sophie, landing safely at the bottom without any serious injuries. This miracle deepens the mystery surrounding Sophie's origins and abilities. Grateful for being saved, Richard offers Asbel his royal ring as a token of his debt. Asbel refuses, insisting he didn't save him for a reward but because they are friends. This act of genuine friendship breaks through Richard's cynical exterior, forging a true bond between them. Having survived the fall and the treacherous climb back up, Asbel proposes a friendship pact. He carves their names, Asbel, Sophie, and Richard, into a large tree, a local tradition said to make a friendship last forever. The three join hands, solidifying their promise to always be friends. Lord Astin discovers the children and, despite Richard's protests, confines Asbel to his room as punishment. At the same time, news arrives that the king has fallen ill, forcing Richard to return to the capital immediately. Hubert is also sent to the capital with him. Confined to his room, a determined Asbel plots his escape. He wants to go to the capital to find someone who might recognize Sophie and help restore her memory. Sophie, who has grown attached to Asbel, wants to go with him, and together they plan their secret journey. Sophie demonstrates her surprising strength by breaking down Asbel's locked door, allowing them to escape the manor. Their journey to the capital begins, with Sophie vowing to protect Asbel, a reversal of the traditional roles that both surprises and slightly embarrasses him. Upon arriving in the massive capital city of Barona, Asbel and Sophie unexpectedly run into Cheria, who is there to see a doctor. Asbel shows off the ring Richard gave him, confident it will grant him an audience with the prince, eager to reunite with his friend. The friends reunite with Prince Richard at the Grand Valkines, the kingdom's source of prosperity. To avoid drawing attention, they devise a playful code name for him, Tiger Festival. Richard embraces the silly name, enjoying the chance to be a normal kid with his friends. Richard shares a devastating secret with Asbel. His father wasn't just sick, he was poisoned. He fears that the same people who targeted the king will eventually come for him as well. This revelation adds a dark and dangerous undertone to their reunion in the capital. The group reunites with Hubert, who feels left out of their adventures. To make it up to him, Richard plans a special treat, a secret nighttime tour of the castle. He promises to meet them at a hidden entrance leading from a building called the Royal Sanctuary. Richard fails to show up for the secret tour, leaving the others waiting and confused. After a long wait, they discover the entrance to the secret passage on their own. Worried that something might have happened, they decide to venture inside to find their friend. Inside the dark passage, a horrific monster appears, petrifying Hubert and Cheria. Sophie stands her ground to protect them, but the monster's power seems overwhelming. The situation becomes a desperate struggle for survival deep beneath the royal castle, with their friend Richard nowhere in sight. In a flash of brilliant light, Sophie sacrifices herself to destroy the monster, saving her friends, but disappearing in the process. A grief-stricken Richard appears, blaming Sophie for the events and vowing to destroy her, leaving a horrified Asbel to witness the loss of his friend and the strange turn of another. Asbel awakens at home several days later to learn the devastating news from his father. Sophie is dead. Lord Astin blames Asbel's carelessness for the tragedy. This moment of immense loss becomes the catalyst for the major decisions that will shape the rest of his life. The tragedies continue to mount as Asbel learns Hubert has been adopted by the Oswell family of Strahta and will not be returning. Feeling betrayed and powerless, Asbel rejects his destiny as the next Lord of Lhant. He declares his new path. He will go to the Knight Academy. Despite Cheria's desperate pleas for him to stay, Asbel leaves Lhant behind. He is driven by the conviction that he must become strong enough to protect everyone he cares about, believing he can never let someone he loves get hurt again. His journey to become a knight begins. 7 years have passed. Asbel, now a knight cadet, successfully completes his first field mission under the guidance of his mentor, Captain Malik. His skills have grown immensely, and he has dedicated himself completely to the path of a knight, leaving his past and his family behind. Captain Malik informs Asbel that he is ready to be recommended as a full-fledged knight. Just as Asbel's lifelong dream is about to come true, his past catches up with him. He receives a letter begging him to come home, hinting at trouble brewing in Lhant. Asbel is shocked to find Cheria waiting for him at the academy. She brings terrible news. Lord Astin has passed away in a border dispute with the nation of Fendel. Asbel is stunned, realizing he was completely unaware of the dire situation his home was in. Under orders from Captain Malik, Asbel returns to Lhant with Cheria to assess the situation and pay his respects. The journey back is fraught with new dangers, and both Asbel and Cheria discover they possess a strange, light-based power that they cannot yet understand or control. Upon returning, Asbel finds Lhant under a full-scale invasion from Fendel. He immediately springs into action, using his knight training to devise a strategy. He plans to lure the enemy forces to the meadow on Lawn Hill, hoping to use the terrain to his advantage. Just as the Fendelian army corners Asbel and Cheria, a familiar figure appears out of nowhere. It's a girl who looks identical to Sophie, possessing the same incredible fighting abilities. She single-handedly turns the tide of the battle, leaving Asbel and Cheria in stunned disbelief. Asbel takes the new girl to the tree where the friendship pact was made 7 years ago. The carvings are still there, and though she doesn't remember, she feels a strange, precious connection to the spot. Asbel decides to call her Sophie, just like his friend from the past. Asbel returns to the manor and has a difficult reunion with his grieving mother. He is filled with regret, believing that if he hadn't abandoned his duties as heir, he could have prevented his father's death and the suffering of his people. He feels lost and unsure of his path. After much soul-searching, Asbel makes a monumental decision. He writes a letter of withdrawal from the Knight Academy, choosing to accept his duty as the next Lord of Lhant. He is determined to protect his home and honor his father's memory, setting aside his own dreams. As the new lord, Asbel devises a plan for a surprise night attack on the Fendelian encampment using a secret seaside cavern. Cheria and Sophie insist on joining him, forming a small but determined group ready to fight for their home. The mission is risky but necessary. The surprise attack turns into a trap. The Fendelian army knew their plan and launched their own sneak attack on the now defenseless town. Just as all hope seems lost, reinforcements arrive from Strahta, led by a shocking commander, Asbel's younger brother, Hubert. Hubert, now a confident and high-ranking lieutenant in the Strahtan military, addresses the people of Lhant. He announces an alliance between Strahta and Windor and declares himself the new military governor, effectively seizing control from Asbel and establishing Strahta's authority over the region. The reunion between the brothers is fraught with tension. Hubert, cold and resentful after being abandoned years ago, challenges Asbel's right to rule. He proposes a duel. If Asbel wins, he can be lord, but if Hubert wins, Asbel must leave Lhant forever. Hubert, having honed his skills for 7 years, easily defeats Asbel in their duel. As per their agreement, he coldly banishes his own brother from their homeland. Asbel is left defeated and exiled, his short-lived tenure as Lord ending in humiliation at the hands of his brother. Exiled and alone, Asbel is found by Sophie, who vows to protect him. Their moment is interrupted by mysterious assailants who are specifically targeting Asbel. He realizes his presence puts Sophie in danger, and they flee, deciding to seek help from their old friend, Richard. Asbel and Sophie arrive in Barona, only to learn that Prince Richard is believed to be dead. They are immediately pursued by guards, forcing them to escape into the royal sanctuary. They hope the secret passage from their childhood is still there, offering a route into the castle. Inside the secret passage, they find Richard, alive but wounded. He reveals that his father, the king, was murdered by his own knights, who are loyal to his treacherous uncle, Cedric. Richard managed to escape and has been hiding ever since, a fugitive in his own kingdom. Richard explains his plan to travel to the domain of Duke Dalen, build an army, and avenge his father by overthrowing his uncle. He asks Asbel to join his cause, and Asbel agrees without hesitation, pledging himself as Richard's sword in the coming war for the throne. Their path to Duke Dalen is blocked by a heavily guarded fortress. Here, they meet a quirky and brilliant engineer named Pascal. She reveals a hidden entrance through ancient underground ruins, and also shows them a mysterious illusion of a girl who looks exactly like Sophie. The illusion brings up the name Lambda, a word that feels strangely familiar to Sophie. With Pascal's help, they successfully navigate the ruins and bypass the fortress. Pascal, fascinated by Sophie, decides to join their group as they continue their journey to aid the prince. The group reaches the city of Graelicide and meets with Duke Dalen, who pledges his forces to Richard's cause. They learn that Richard's uncle, Cedric, has formed an alliance with Strahta, the same nation now occupying Lhant. The political web is far more tangled than they imagined. They devise a strategy to retake the fortress of Wallbridge. Pascal's knowledge of the ruins will allow a small team, Asbel, Sophie, Richard, and herself, to infiltrate the fortress from below, open the main gates, and allow Duke Dalen's army to storm through and secure a crucial victory. During the infiltration, Richard is stabbed and appears to be mortally wounded. But then, a dark, unsettling power erupts from him. He not only heals himself instantly, but also brutally tortures his attacker, showing a terrifying cruelty that shocks Asbel and the others. After successfully taking Wallbridge, the group is confronted by Captain Malik, Asbel's former mentor, who is now fighting for the new king. Asbel is forced to fight his instructor, a difficult battle that tests both his skills and his resolve in this escalating civil war. In the aftermath of the battle, Cheria arrives as part of a volunteer relief organization from Lhant. She joins the group, but Richard's dark transformation continues to worsen. He orders that no medical aid be given to enemy prisoners, declaring them traitors who deserve no mercy. Asbel confronts Richard about his cruelty, pleading with him to show mercy. Richard explodes in anger, accusing Asbel of defying him. This deep rift between the two friends marks a turning point, as Richard's quest for justice twists into a thirst for absolute power and vengeance. The war continues, and the group follows Richard's army toward the capital. Inside a research facility, Richard is ambushed. He again displays his dark power, but this time seems to be suffering from it, clutching his chest in agony as if something is consuming him from within. Richard finally confronts his uncle, Cedric, in the throne room. After a fierce battle, Richard is victorious. However, instead of just defeating him, he coldly executes his uncle, completing his revenge. He declares it is not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter for the kingdom. Richard is crowned the new king of Windor. His first act is to address the situation in Lhant. Citing Strahta's occupation of the Cryas mines as high treason, he declares his intention to invade his own homeland, shocking everyone with his aggressive and tyrannical decree. King Richard names Asbel as the commander of the invasion force, forcing him to choose between his king and his family. Asbel pleads for a chance to negotiate with Hubert. Richard reluctantly agrees, but gives him an impossibly short deadline, setting Asbel up for failure. Asbel's group, now including a pardoned Captain Malik, rushes back to Lhant to prevent a war. They sneak into the city to speak with Hubert, hoping that diplomacy can avert the impending bloodshed between Windor and Strahta, with their hometown caught directly in the crossfire. Asbel's attempt at negotiation is revealed to be a sham. Richard's army attacks Lhant, while Asbel is speaking with Hubert, making him look like a traitor. Richard appears, revealing he never intended to allow for peace and is there to demonstrate his absolute power. Asbel makes the difficult choice to stand against Richard, his friend and king. He declares Richard's path of fear and violence is wrong. Richard, feeling betrayed by the one person he thought understood him, unleashes his full power, ready to destroy anyone who defies him. The battle against Richard is devastating. In the chaos, a powerful light envelops Sophie, and her memories come flooding back. She now recalls her entire past with Asbel, Hubert, and Cheria from their childhood, fully reawakening as the friend they thought they had lost 7 years ago. After Richard is forced to retreat, the friends regroup. Sophie, with her memories returned, is now afraid of her own past, sensing there is something dark she has yet to remember. Meanwhile, Hubert reveals that he is being recalled to Strahta, potentially leaving Lhant defenseless once more. Asbel learns that Strahta plans to recall Hubert because his methods aren't yielding enough Cryas for them. To save his brother's position and protect Lhant, Asbel volunteers to travel to Strahta himself. He will plead Hubert's case directly to their president. Hubert's jealous cousin, Raymond, attempts to sabotage the mission by taking Cheria hostage. He demands Asbel's letter to the president, hoping to ensure Hubert's recall. Hubert intervenes, confronting his cousin and allowing Asbel to rush off and rescue Cheria from captivity. After rescuing Cheria, she and Asbel have a heartfelt and emotional confrontation. They confess how much they missed each other over the past 7 years, clearing the air and mending their strained friendship. The group is more united than ever as they prepare to depart for Strahta. The journey to the Strahtan capital is blocked by a giant, rampaging monster called the Rockagong. The group learns the creature is normally peaceful, but something has caused it to go berserk. They must find a way to deal with the monster to continue their urgent mission. In a bizarre turn, the Rockagong swallows the entire party. They find themselves inside the creature's stomach and must navigate its hazardous insides to escape. They discover that the monster's rampage is being caused by parasites living within it and resolve to help. The group successfully defeats the parasite queen inside the Rockagong. A good luck charm Hubert had given Asbel, strangely filled with pepper, causes the giant beast to sneeze, expelling them to safety. The road to the capital is finally clear for them to proceed. Asbel meets with the president of Strahta, who is revealed to be the same man they helped with the Rockagong. Asbel learns that Strahta's Cryas shortage is due to their own Valkines malfunctioning. He makes a deal. If his friends can fix the Valkines, Hubert can stay in Lhant. The group travels to Strahta's Valkines, located in some ancient ruins. Pascal uses her incredible knowledge of Emarcian technology to quickly identify and fix the problem. Just as they succeed, however, King Richard appears, drawn to the restored power of the Valkines. In a terrifying display of power, Richard absorbs all of the energy from the entire Valkines, leaving it a dead husk. He tells Sophie they are fated to battle before vanishing. Sophie is deeply conflicted, unable to fight the boy who was once her friend. The president of Strahta learns that Richard also drained the Valkines in Barona. Realizing Richard is targeting all 3 of the world's Valkines, he deduces the final one in Fendel is next. He asks Asbel's group to pursue Richard into the enemy nation of Fendel. The group travels to the neutral territory of Warrior's Roost to find a secret way into Fendel. They learn their contact has been captured and are forced into a tournament battle to free her. Hubert's surprising combat prowess secures their victory and their passage into the hostile country. In Fendel, the group witnesses the extreme poverty and Cryas shortages faced by the common people. They use monster parts collected by Pascal to help a family in need, learning that the government reserves the precious resource for the upper class, leaving many to suffer in the cold. While exploring Fendel's capital, Javert, Captain Malik is recognized by guards. He uses old, surprisingly authentic Fendelian military credentials to bluff their way past, revealing he has a hidden past connected to this enemy nation. Hubert's suspicions about his allies continue to grow. Pascal reveals a shocking truth. She is a Martian, a member of a supposedly extinct race of ancient engineers. She also confesses that Fendel's dangerous experiment on their unstable Valkines is based on her own abandoned research, which could cause a catastrophic, country-leveling explosion. Captain Malik also comes clean, revealing he is originally from Fendel and was part of a failed revolution years ago before fleeing. The secrets cause a rift, and Hubert, unable to trust them, declares he will go no further with liars. The party fractures at a critical moment. The fractured group travels to the Martian enclave, Pascal's hidden home. They learn that Pascal's own sister, Fourier, is leading the dangerous Valkines experiment. To stop the potential disaster, they must find her and convince her of the catastrophic flaw in her research. The group confronts Fourier in her lab. Pascal demonstrates the flaw in the research, showing how it leads to an uncontrollable chain reaction. However, Fourier, driven by a lifelong jealousy of her sister's effortless genius, refuses to admit her work is flawed and will lead to disaster. Fourier reveals the person in charge of the project is Fendel's chief science officer, Kurt Bessel. Captain Malik is shocked to hear the name. Kurt was his closest friend and fellow revolutionary, whom he left behind 20 years ago. They must now find and confront him. The group infiltrates Fendel Tower and finds Kurt's office. They discover a map pinpointing the location of Fendel's Valkines, hidden in a glacier just outside the capital. They now know where the final confrontation over the dangerous experiment will take place. At the glacier, they find Kurt Bessel overseeing the final stages of the experiment. Malik pleads with his old friend to stop, but Kurt refuses, believing the dangerous experiment is the only way to save his people from suffering. The two former comrades are forced to fight. During the battle, the experiment goes critical. With the emergency shutdown failing, Kurt sacrifices himself to destroy the main outflow pipe, preventing the Valkines from exploding. He dies in Malik's arms, entrusting the future of his people to his old friend and to Pascal. Just as they mourn Kurt, Richard appears once more. He effortlessly drains the Fendelian Valkines, the last of the three, absorbing its immense power. He and Sophie have a tense confrontation where it's revealed that her purpose is to stop him, setting the stage for their final battle. An Martian representative reveals Richard's next target, the Lastalia, the core of the planet and the true source of all Cryas. The group is given access to the Archive of Wisdom to learn more, discovering that a being named Lambda once targeted the Valkines, just as Richard is now doing. They learn the only entrance to the planet's core is at a location called World's Eye. Understanding that Richard absorbing the Lastalia's power would mean the death of their world, the group prepares for their final journey to confront their fallen friend and save everything. A mysterious poem is discovered, speaking of a seed of destruction from Fodra and a savior who rises to protect the land. The group is perplexed by its meaning, but the words trigger a painful, fragmented memory in Sophie, causing her great distress and a severe headache. While investigating archives, the party learns that a powerful entity named Lambda was stopped by something called Protos Heis. They theorize that the poem's seed of destruction is Lambda, and the savior is Protos Heis, connecting Richard's recent actions to this ancient prophecy of recreation and destruction. The group secures passage on a ship to World's Eye, an island east of Warrior's Roost. Thanks to the influence of the Overseer, their journey is expedited. The captain, though initially skeptical about their destination, agrees to take them, setting the stage for their impending confrontation with Richard. On the ship, Sophie confides in Asbel, expressing her internal conflict. She feels a powerful urge to destroy Richard to protect her friends, yet she still considers him a friend. This emotional turmoil highlights the deep, confusing instincts that are awakening within her as the confrontation nears. Arriving at World's Eye, the group discovers the entrance to the Lastalia has been sealed. Their relief at beating Richard to the location is short-lived, as he dramatically appears, his body struggling to contain the immense power he has been absorbing. He has become a volatile, dangerous figure. During a tense battle, Richard's body begins to fail him under the strain of his absorbed power. Just as the group considers a mercy blow, Asbel hears Richard's true voice crying out for help, revealing that his friend is still trapped inside the monstrous form, lost and in pain. Sophie attempts to reach Richard by reminding him of their friendship pact, but the entity controlling him, identifying her as Protos Heis, violently rejects her. Richard strikes Sophie down, causing her to collapse as he is enveloped by a massive, pulsating cocoon, leaving the party in shock. Sophie awakens, but her vision is blurry and fading, a dangerous after-effect of Richard's attack. Cheria's healing arts and medicines prove ineffective against this strange ailment. The group realizes they are facing a problem beyond their normal means of solving, increasing their desperation to find a cure. Pascal theorizes that Sophie is not human. Recalling that Protos Heis came from a place called Fodra, she suggests that the only way to heal Sophie is to take her there. Despite the uncertainty and immense risk, Asbel resolves to go, determined to save Sophie at any cost. Help arrives from the Amarcian overseer, who reveals the path to Fodra lies not in the Archive of Wisdom, but in a lost archive located in the Strahtan city of Sable Isol. Fendel provides them a ship, marking a new alliance between the nations to face the growing crisis. During the voyage, Sophie's condition worsens. She tries to remain cheerful, recalling memories of her friends' faces even as her sight fails. Her bravery in the face of her deteriorating senses strengthens the party's resolve to find a cure and protect her from fading away completely. Upon arriving in Strahta, they learn the president is also heading to Sable Isol. They decide to meet him there to deliver a letter from Fendel's chancellor and ask for permission to investigate the ruins beneath the city's research tower, where the Lost Archive is believed to be. Inside the Lost Archive, Pascal discovers the route to Fodra. The plan is incredibly dangerous, requiring them to use a flying shuttle to break through a massive water barrier in the sky called the Aquasphere. It's a long shot, but it's the only option they have left. The plan requires two powerful heat ray cannons, one in Strahta and one in Fendel, to fire simultaneously and create a temporary hole in the aquasphere. However, Pascal discovers that the Fendel cannon is broken, forcing the group to travel there to repair it before they can proceed. The group finds the ancient shuttle hidden in a seaside cavern near Asbel's hometown. Pascal begins working to get the systems online while confirming the locations of the two heat ray cannons. The complexity of the task ahead begins to settle in, with multiple components needing to work perfectly. Monsters spawned from Richard's cocoon attack, Asbel's hometown of Lhant. Sophie, despite her blindness and weakness, uses her remaining strength to protect everyone, unleashing a powerful attack that repels the creatures but leaves her completely drained. Her selflessness inspires everyone around her. Asbel has a heartfelt conversation with his mother, who reveals his late father's hidden worries and deep love for his sons. This moment provides Asbel with new perspective and strength, helping him understand the true meaning of responsibility and family as he prepares for the dangerous journey ahead. The party reaches the Fendel Cannon facility, a massive ancient structure. As they prepare to repair it, Pascal learns that her sister Fourier has refused to help pilot the shuttle. This setback forces Pascal to rig the shuttle for manual control. adding another layer of difficulty to their mission. Just as the cannon repairs are finished, Fourier's assistant arrives, sent by the Overseer to pilot the shuttle remotely. With the pilot secured, the countdown for launch begins. However, the cavern is swarmed by monsters, forcing the group to defend the shuttle to ensure it can take off. As the launch countdown nears its end, Bailey and the Knights of Lhant arrive to hold off the relentless monster horde. Their sacrifice allows the group to board the shuttle just in time. The powerful catapult engages, launching them toward the sky on their desperate mission to Fadra. The shuttle successfully breaks through the aquasphere and crash lands on Fadra. The world is a desolate, cold wasteland under a stronger gravitational pull. They spot their home planet as a large orb in the sky, realizing the stark contrast between the two worlds as they stand on dead soil. Inside a floating, ruined city, the party finds a girl who looks identical to Sophie. Upon touching her, the girl vanishes, leaving them to wonder about her identity. This discovery confirms they are on the right path and that Fadra holds deep secrets directly connected to Sophie's origins. In the ruins, they meet Emeraud, who explains that Sophie is an artificial humanoid soldier named Protos Heis, created to combat Lambda. She reveals Sophie is malfunctioning but can be repaired at the Humanoid Research Center. The group agrees, despite the grave dangers that lie ahead. Meanwhile, back on their homeworld, Fourier is filled with regret and worry for her sister Pascal. She realizes the depth of her jealousy and fears for Pascal's safety. This moment of reflection highlights the strong, albeit complicated bond between the two brilliant Amartian sisters. Emeraud reveals that Lambda, after wreaking havoc on Fadra, fled to their world, Ephinea. Protos Heis, Sophie, was created and sent in pursuit, but failed to destroy him. The surviving Fadrans then sealed Ephinea away to contain Lambda, a plan that has now apparently failed. A shocking truth is revealed. 7 years ago, Sophie didn't die, but used a process called distributive preservation. She split her particles to save Asbel, Cheria, and Hubert, residing within them to heal and recuperate. This explains their shared powers and deep connection to her. They place Sophie into a machine for repairs. As the process begins, her consciousness manifests visually, showing the group how she perceives them. She sees them all as cherished friends, but her projection of Richard is immediately attacked, revealing her deep-seated trauma and ingrained mission. Sophie awakens, fully healed, but with her memories foggy. Emeraud adjusts her, restoring her core programming. Sophie's personality recedes, replaced by the cold logic of Protos Heis, a weapon whose sole purpose is to destroy Lambda, regardless of the host he inhabits. The group sees a vision of Lambda's past, revealing he was once a childlike being raised by a kind researcher named Cornell, who treated him like a son. This complicates their understanding of Lambda, showing that he was not always the monster they believed him to be. Sophie's power resonates with Asbel, Cheria, and Hubert, a visible manifestation of the bond created when she saved them. This connection overrides her cold programming, and she agrees to work with them to find a way to save Richard without sacrificing herself. Unity gives them new hope. To breach Lambda's cocoon back on Ephinea, the group needs to reinforce their shuttle with a special metal called Daos ore. They travel to Baal Citadel, a Fodran military facility, to find the necessary components, only to be ambushed by advanced humanoid guards protecting the ruins. Using materials from the Citadel, Pascal brilliantly crafts the Daos bit to reinforce the shuttle. She also creates rings from the leftover ore for herself and Captain Malik, allowing them to channel Sophie's power just like the others, finally uniting the entire party's strength. Emeraude explains Lambda's endgame. He is using the cocoon to undergo a rebirth, intending to fuse with Ephinea's core, the Lastalia. If he succeeds, their world will become an extension of Lambda, and all life will be extinguished, just as it was on Fadra. With the shuttle repaired and reinforced, Emeraud requests to accompany them back to Ephinea, claiming it is her duty as a Fadran survivor to see Lambda brought to justice. The group agrees, unaware of her ulterior motives, and prepares to return home for the final confrontation. Using the Daos bit, the shuttle successfully smashes through the cocoon's barrier. Inside, they find a grotesque, living landscape. Sophie senses Lambda deep below, and the party prepares to descend into the heart of the enemy's stronghold to stop his rebirth and save Richard. The party confronts a monstrous fusion of Richard and Lambda. He declares his intention to end their journey permanently. Asbel's attempts to reason with his friend are met with hostility, forcing the group into a battle against the powerful entity that was once their king and friend. With the battle over, Sophie moves to destroy Lambda once and for all. However, she reveals her ultimate purpose, a mutual destruction function that will kill her along with him. Just as she is about to sacrifice herself, Emeraud intervenes, stopping her with a surprising command. Emeraud reveals her true, villainous plan. She was using the party all along to weaken Lambda so she could absorb him herself. She fuses with Lambda, intending to use his life-creating power to become a goddess and remake Fordra in her own image, dismissing the party as bit players. Lambda's immense power proves too much for Emeraud to control. He violently rejects her as a host, tearing her body apart. This horrific turn of events shows that Lambda is not a mere tool to be wielded, but a conscious entity with his own immense and uncontrollable will. Freed from Emeraud, Lambda returns to Richard, who welcomes him as a kindred spirit. Together again, they open a path to the Lastalia, the planet's core, to complete their fusion with the world. The cocoon begins to collapse, forcing the heroes to make a hasty escape aboard their shuttle. Aboard the shuttle, Asbel confronts Sophie about her willingness to die, telling her it's a ridiculous and sad fate. He argues that her life has value beyond her mission and that sacrificing herself won't solve anything. This passionate plea begins to crack through her programmed purpose. Cheria explains to Sophie that Asbel's anger stems from sadness and a deep fear of losing her. This insight helps Sophie understand human emotions better, realizing that the party's desire to protect her is rooted in love, not just a desire to complete a mission or save the world. Asbel explains to Sophie that they are alike in their stubbornness, but he refuses to accept her death as an option. He reminds her of all the things she has yet to experience, like seeing the Sephiria flowers bloom, urging her to choose life and a future with her friends. Before the final battle, Sophie takes everyone to the meadow where they first met. She absorbs the natural eleth from the area and shares it with the entire party, strengthening their bonds and creating a protective shield to resist Lambda's overwhelming mental influence inside the Lastalia. Asbel reflects on his relationship with his late father, realizing he never truly understood him. This moment of introspection leads him to a greater appreciation for family and the connections he has with his friends, solidifying his resolve to protect the future that they all share. Pascal gets a brilliant idea and stays up all night tinkering, determined to go into the final battle without any regrets. Her dedication, along with Fourier's surprise appearance to help, showcases the power of their sisterly bond and their shared commitment to their friend's cause. Cheria gently turns down two suitors, having realized that her true desire is to continue her relief work and be with her friends. This decision marks a significant step in her personal growth, choosing a path of self-fulfillment and love over obligation or convenience. As they descend into the Lastalia, the path is blocked by a strange barrier. The group finds they can only pass by working together, their shared power allowing them to push through. Inside, they are immediately flooded with a vision of Lambda's traumatic past on Fordra. The party sees the full extent of Lambda's tragic history, the cruel experiments performed on him, Director Cornell's desperate attempt to save him, and Emeraude's cold betrayal. Cornell sacrifices himself to send Lambda to Ephinea, urging him to live on, a memory that now fuels his actions. The group confronts the fused Richard and Lambda at the planet's core. Richard explains their new ideal to eliminate all of humanity, which he sees as the source of all selfishness and pain. His twisted logic confirms that he is too far gone for reason, forcing a final battle. Defeated, Richard's true consciousness briefly returns. He admits that beneath his desire for destruction, he secretly hoped Asbel would save him. He explains that his feelings and Lambda's are now inseparable, and he begs Asbel to kill him before Lambda fully recovers and destroys them all. Richard, in a final act of defiance, tries to hold Lambda back, but Lambda rejects him, calling him weak for lacking the will to live. Lambda casts Richard's body aside and fuses with the raw eleth of the Valkyries, becoming a being of pure, immense energy for the ultimate showdown. With Lambda defeated but not destroyed, Sophie prepares once again for her final sacrifice. She thanks her friends for the happiness they gave her, ready to disappear to protect their future. Asbel, honoring his promise, refuses to let her die and takes a desperate, shocking action. Asbel dives into Lambda's fading energy, offering his own body as a new vessel. Inside their shared mindscape, he rejects Lambda's nihilism and offers coexistence instead. He proposes they see the world together through his eyes, giving Lambda a chance to learn about more than just pain. Moved by Asbel's unwavering trust, Lambda agrees to the proposal. He will coexist within Asbel, observing the world and humanity through him. He tells Asbel he will go to sleep for a while, his light fading as he settles into his new host, ending the immediate threat to the world. Sophie approaches the now dormant Lambda within Asbel. She senses a profound change. This version of Lambda is not a threat to be destroyed. Her core mission is nullified, and she realizes her purpose is no longer to fight, but to live alongside her friends in this new, peaceful era. Life begins to return to normal. Pascal continues her research on the Valkyries, developing a new system to provide heat and warm water to the people of Fendel. Her simple yet elegant idea promises to bring comfort and improve the lives of many, marking the dawn of a new age. Asbel and Sophie stand in the garden, watching the Cheria flowers bloom into a beautiful blossom gale. Sophie dreams of growing up and wonders about her future. The quiet, beautiful moment signifies a peaceful turning point as they begin to navigate their new lives together. Years pass. Asbel reflects on his father's death and his own mortality. This conversation triggers a deep fear in Sophie, who realizes that as an immortal being, she is destined to be left behind as all her human friends grow old and pass away, facing an eternity of loneliness. Sophie becomes withdrawn, consumed by her fear of being left alone. As monster attacks increase across the world, Richard summons the group to investigate an ancient ruin. Sophie's absence is felt by all as they realize the depth of the emotional crisis she is facing on her own. Sophie, having run away, finds Pascal. They discuss her feelings of being different and her desire to become human so she won't be left behind. She wishes Asbel and Cheria were her parents, expressing a deep yearning for a normal family life that seems forever out of her reach. Pascal and Sophie visit a young couple, Firma and Sean, who are expecting a baby. Sophie is fascinated by the process of birth and family. When the baby girl is born, the couple names her Sophia in Sophie's honor, giving Sophie a profound sense of connection and the feeling of being a mother. While the others are away, Richard shows Sophie his old secret hideout in the castle. He gives it to her as a place where she can be alone when she needs space. This small act of kindness helps Sophie feel understood and gives her a sanctuary to process her complex emotions. While investigating new, stronger monsters, Asbel is forced to rely on Lambda's power to win a tough battle. This event confirms that the monsters are evolving. Pascal messages the group, revealing she and Sophie are at the Emarcian Enclave and have important information about Fadra. Fourier explains that the monsters are rapidly evolving to counter the threat posed by humans. Pascal reveals that Faudra's supposedly dormant core has reactivated and is emitting eleth, theorizing it is the cause of the mutations. The group decides they must travel to Faudra to investigate. Sophie's emotional turmoil reaches its peak as she confronts her immortality. In a powerful moment, Asbel decides to formally adopt her into his family, naming her Sophie Lhant. This act gives her a new sense of purpose and belonging, easing her fears of being left alone forever. Lambda speaks to Asbel, confirming Sophie's fears about her purpose being gone and facing an eternity of solitude. He seems to mock Asbel's ability to solve her despair, challenging him to find an answer. This internal conversation highlights the ongoing struggle and observation happening within Asbel. The group prepares for their trip to Faudra. Hubert, who has been struggling with a marriage proposal from Strahta's president, finally admits his feelings for Pascal. This confession, though clumsy, marks a huge step for him and sets the stage for their future relationship. The group's shuttle is attacked upon entering Faudra's atmosphere by a mysterious, powerful woman. They crash land but manage to find an ancient eleth research laboratory. Inside, they discover logs detailing the Faudran scientists' discovery of a little queen born from the planet's core. Exploring a laboratory on Faudra, the group finds research logs about changes in the planet's core and the emergence of a mysterious little queen. The data is fragmented, but points to a catastrophic event that the ancient Faudrans, including Emeraud and Cornell, were desperately trying to understand. The party is attacked by a powerful monster that seems to be a manifestation of Faudra's core itself. After a difficult battle, they access more data logs, which reveal that the Little Queen sample was instrumental in completing the creation of Protos Heis, directly linking Sophie to the core. The mysterious girl from the core appears again, leading them to a beautiful meadow teeming with peaceful monsters and flowers. It's an idyllic paradise, a stark contrast to the rest of the dead world. They realize this is Faudra's ideal vision of a world without humans to destroy it. The girl, a manifestation of Faudra's will, reveals her goal: to kill all humans, who she sees as a destructive force disrupting the natural circle of life. She tries to tempt Sophie to join her, promising an eternity without the pain of being left behind by her mortal friends. Back in a Faudran city, the party reviews the last data logs. They witness the final moments of the Faudran researchers, who realize the Little Queen intends to eradicate humanity. The planet itself has deemed them a virus, and the Queen is its immune response, leading to their extinction. Pascal proposes a risky plan: have Lambda absorb the Faudran core's hostile eleth to shut it down. However, the strain could obliterate a human host. To protect himself, Asbel decides to temporarily cede full control of his body to Lambda during the absorption process, trusting him to return it. Lambda questions Asbel's foolish trust, but is amazed by his unwavering belief. He agrees to the plan, warning Asbel of the immense strain. This moment marks a turning point in their relationship, shifting from host and parasite to one of mutual, albeit wary, respect and cooperation. The party shares their fears and hopes the night before the final mission. Lambda speaks through Asbel to each of them, offering cryptic but reassuring words. He acknowledges their courage and devotion, showing a growing understanding of human emotions like trust and friendship, calming their anxieties. In a private moment, Asbel makes a pinky promise to Cheria to return safely. He hints at a future together, asking her to be there for Sophie with him. Lambda, observing, tells Cheria to hold Asbel to his promise, acknowledging the profound bond between the two. Sophie tells Asbel she will carry his dream for a better future forward through time, watching over his descendants long after he is gone. This gives her a new, powerful purpose beyond her original mission, cementing her role as a guardian of Lhant's legacy and easing her fear of loneliness. The party descends into Faudra's Lastalia. They are met with swarms of little queens, manifestations of Faudra's will to protect itself. Sophie realizes they are not evil, but lonely and fighting to protect their world. She resolves to understand them rather than destroy them. At the core, Sophie rejects the little queen's offer of a shared, lonely eternity. She declares her new identity as Sophie Lhant, choosing her found family over the queen's empty promise. This forces a final battle against the Fodran Core's ultimate, powerful manifestation. With the final enemy defeated, the little queen begins to absorb the core's power to regenerate. Asbel enacts his plan, allowing Lambda to take full control of his body. Lambda then successfully absorbs the core's volatile energy, neutralizing the immediate threat and saving both worlds. Inside their shared consciousness, Lambda explains that he has absorbed Fodra's hateful heart. He will now dream with her for centuries, hoping to soothe her hatred and teach her trust, just as Asbel did for him. He asks Sophie to watch over his progress throughout the ages. As Fodra's consciousness fades, the last little queen entrusts her feelings and hopes to Sophie, who absorbs her essence. For the first time, Sophie is able to cry, having received the queen's tears. They promise to return one day when Fodra is green again and leave for home. The friends begin to part ways. Hubert, having found his courage, playfully calls Pascal Hugh, a new nickname that she happily accepts, solidifying their budding romance. Their lighthearted banter marks the start of a new, more honest chapter in their relationship. Richard bids farewell, promising to rebuild his kingdom and create a prosperous future for all. He proposes that one day, when true peace is achieved, they will all meet again at Lhant Hill to travel the world together, a promise of future adventures and enduring friendship. Asbel finally confesses his feelings to Cheria properly, asking her to live with him and Sophie. This time she understands. Sophie reveals a dream of their future great-grandson, a beautiful vision of the family they will become, bringing their long journey to a happy and hopeful conclusion.